Welcome to Theater Crafts, where we take theater memorabilia and we make brand new treasures. All right, so today we're going to take programs and we're going to transform them into flowered magnets. So this is a come from away program. And you can see in the center there the playbill, and you can see the blue from the program, and it's made into a magnet. All right, we've got another one here. This is from Hadestown. You can see the word Hadestown right in the center of that flower. And we've got this one here from Shucked. You can see Playbill right in the middle there. So we're going to take these programs, make flowered magnets that you can put on your refrigerator, your locker, bulletin board, whatever. All right, so let's get crafting. Okay, so welcome to the workbench. So let me tell you what is needed for this particular project. So for the inside here on the flowers as the base, I actually used caps from soda bottles. You could use caps from milk jugs, water bottles, anything like that. I have two that are the same size, and I'm going to glue those together, and that became the base onto which I glued the paper program. Now you're going to need programs, so I'm going to do one 6 because I think the colors there are really beautiful. You need to have for the bottom, I added some felt. You see here, it could be anything. It could be cork or anything. I just have a scrap piece of felt that I thought would go with 6. And you're gonna need some for the jewels in the middle. You see here, I have some jewels here. I used black for these two. I used the clear for the Come From Away flower. I used E6000 and a jewel picker for that. You need a hot glue gun. I've got a hot glue gun here, and obviously glue sticks. I have my magnets here. So if you notice, I put magnets on the back of these. That way they can attach to a bulletin board or a locker or, wherever you want to attach them. But you could do these without the magnets, and you could put them on top of a gift. That would be really cool too. Obviously you're going to need scissors to cut your paper. I used a sorry, I just hit my camera, sorry. A cutter like this for mine, and that's about it. That's all I needed for this. Let me just kind of clear my space a little bit so we've got some working room. I do want to show you how the pictures ended up looking. So this is from Come From Away. So here's another program, Come From Away. You can see I used the playbill here for the center, and you can see the words playbill in the center of the flower. And then I used the main part of the program for the petals. Now, truth be told, I actually found another image of the blue from Come From Away to add more petals to the flower. So it was more than just this one piece here. So there's that one. And then this one was Hadestown. And so you can actually almost see the words Hadestown in there. And you can see that based on this. And the same thing here. I chose not to use the playbill for the center here because I thought it'd be fun to see the word Hadestown there. But I did find another image that was from the show, and I don't know if you can really see some of the images of the performers. You can't really tell just because of the way the petals are in that, but it was the similar colors, and that's kind of what I was going for with this. So that's that one. All right, so we're going to do 6 today. I thought that would be really fun. And we'll put that aside because we'll use that later. So I grabbed several pages that, from inside of programs. So you can grab any sort of program and look inside, and you might find pages that would work for the show. Like, you know, if you're doing, say, Aladdin here, or you could do a variety from different shows, and it doesn't have to be all from the same show. It's totally up to you. What you end up doing for your final. You could do colors that coordinate together, but you know, like you've got great colors here, that would be amazing. This is fantastic, great colors there. So, oh, here's another one with Dear Evan Hansen. Again, the colors there are great, and the words kind of don't matter because of the way you're going to cut it. So I wouldn't worry about that so much, but there are lots of options, certainly in any playbills that you find. Okay, so let's get started. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue the two caps together. So I've got my hot glue gun and literally just going to, I used a fair amount of glue, to be honest, and it doesn't really matter because it's not going to be seen. It's going to be covered up. So even if it glops over the side, I wouldn't worry about that so much. You just want to make sure they are really affixed here. You know, you don't have to use caps like this. You could certainly use cork. You could use, I don't know, even a stick would work, or something like, I was thinking medicine, you know, bottles, prescription bottles. You could have them nice and you know, long if you wanted to create like a really large flower. But that's all that is. And don't worry about the edges here. Those are going to be covered up anyway because we're going to add felt on one side and we're going to add jewels on the other. So no need to worry about that. And now looking at the flower, if you notice, these are cut in different lengths. So you see the yellow from the Playbill is shorter, and then I added 3 different lengths here. It's not going to, these are all going to be pretty much the same color scheme, so it's not going to matter quite so much with this, but you do want to have layers to your pieces, obviously, so that you can create depth to your flower. All right, so I'm just going to cut this back piece off because I don't need that, and that is rather small, that piece. It'll work, it'll all be great. All right, so it's totally up to you how long you make your pieces. I actually did, for mine, I created, and FYI, these are all great because the color goes right to the edge, which is really visually appealing. You could use like sheet music for this. I would cut off the edges that are not covered with the notes or the staff, just because visually it might not be as appealing. But these are all right to the end. So I'm going to cut 2 at a time here, and I'm going to create the first level. Maybe I'm just kind of gauging here. I'm going to be honest, I made it different for each one, and I'm literally just going to cut this and let this be my first level. And I made, for the first one, I did maybe 2 pieces. For the second one, I did, depending on which one, some of them I did 2, some of them I did 3 pieces. It's totally up to you. I'm going to increase this to this line here, but I can, here, I'll measure it so that you can see. So this is, let's see, it's about 1.5 inches wide. This first one is about 1 inch. But again, it's totally up to you how big you make those. I'm going to make do another one, another set of that 1.5 inches wide. And like I said, you can cut these with your scissors. It's all good. So the next one I'm going to make a little bit bigger, because this way we've got the layers, like I said, of the flower. So I'm just using the guide on here. I'm going to be honest, I am being kind of low-key about this, and that's about 2 inches. And let's see how this one goes. Okay, so I've got 4 of each. Now that was, I only used 2 of the pages. I have a 3rd page here, but I'll leave that in case I decide I want to add another level onto that. Okay, so now we're going to start putting the flower together. Okay, so I want to point out here that it all depends on, now in this one, it might not matter as much, but if you notice here, I actually created, you have to create the petals, so you're going to have to cut into the words here. So in this one, I cut them going from bottom up, because that way you could see the word playbill. I could have done it the other way. And literally all I'm going to do is I'm going to, it's almost like fringing, just going right down the line and not going all the way to the end, but leaving maybe, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch at the end. I'm not being too precise here. And just cutting all the way down. Okay, and same thing here. And I'll do all of the different sizes, and we'll come back and I'll show you the next part. Okay, so I have cut all of the pieces here. You see that I've basically fringed them. So they're all, and like I said, about 1/4 of an inch. I was not being particular about them. So you can be as precise as you'd like. But it's not really in the end going to matter quite so much. So I've got 3 of each of these. I had a couple of these. All right, so if you notice, we're going to start with this smaller one. And we're going to start right in the center. Now I'm putting the color towards the inside. That way when you flare it out at the end, you'll see the color here. Now you see on the back, that's the back side of the pages, but you'll see the color this way. All right, and really, I'm just going to add a little bit of hot glue onto the cover, the cover there. Now this, I would recommend using low melt glue because this does get hot. And you do kind of have to, because of the way, although these are pretty straight across, but if you're using something like a stick or like a cork or something that maybe not as uniform in size, you may have to scrunch it. And I'll show you, we'll get to that in a minute, that you want to keep it as even as possible all the way around, but you may have to actually guide it down just to make sure that it's adhering to the caps. All right. Okay. All right. This one's nice because it has actually purple. Oops, purple on the other side. Okay, so we got the first level is done. All right, so now we're going to take the second level and we're going to start right where we left off on the first one here. So we're going to abut that next one right there. And again, just adding, we're not going to go down any further on the caps at this point. Just add a little bit of glue. I mean, I suppose you could do this if you wanted to do this with young people. You could probably do this with a glue stick too, because it's just paper. It would be a little tricky getting it to attach to the cap, but a low melt glue is certainly going to give you more adhesion. And if you see, I'm guiding it to keep it right in line with that, or the first level. sloppy with my glue. I'm trying to be really good about not being too overzealous with my glue. Okay. All right. So that's our inside level. All right. Couldn't be easier, right? And see when you see it comes out, and it just adds to mention the words. All right. So now we've got the next level. So we've got 4 here. All right. So now I'm going to start on the caps a little bit further down, so about halfway between where we ended up on the last one and the bottom. Okay, so we're going to take, I'm going to start it kind of where we left off on the last one. Just get that going. And you see why I want to use low melt, because that would be really hot if I did that with my fingers, and because it's just paper. So you want to be careful too, because like I said, it's really just paper from the programs, so you want to be careful with it. I have found that the one page goes around the cap like 1 and maybe 1/4 of a time. So just to give you a little bit of kind of idea about how many you might want. And it all depends on how full you want your flower to be. So on some of them, I only use 2 layers, or 2 layers each for each of the different lengths. And some I used 3. I think I liked the ones with 3 better. Oh, I'm getting all stuck up in the strings here. Okay. Ooh, I like this. Let's try this and see how this. It's got the faces here. But we want to. That would be on the bottom, remember, because that's from Aladdin. So I'm going to do this here. Okay. You see I'm pushing it down to make sure that it's nice and kind of staying right on with the last row. And don't worry that it's getting a little bumpy. That's okay. Okay, so there's that row. A little caught up in the glue. Okay, so I'm going to continue one more round on this row, and then I'll come back and I'll have you join on the next part of it. All right, so I did 3 rounds with the second layer. So now I'm going to add the last layer to this, and we're going to go all the way to the base of the caps. All right, here's where it ended. Okay, and remember, you're going to put it towards the inside, which I know feels counterintuitive. It feels like it should go on the outside. Now this one is a little bit trickier, so you're going to really have to push this in, because we've got the bulk of the other layers. So you see how it's, I'm having to scrunch that in there. And you're going to have to kind of turn it. So it'll look fine in the end, but it does get a little bit cumbersome here. And you can just fold it over like I just did there, if that helps. And really secured in there. And this is where it's going to, because it's getting quite large, you're not going to get as much coverage. So like that one only went around just a little over one time. Now we're adding the bulk to it. Okay. This is why we're glad we have low melt glue here, because it does get on your fingers. Okay. All right. Now let's add the next layer. All right, and I'll fast forward through this so you don't have to watch me in real time, but you can see the different layering on the bottom here. I want to point out the last round that I did, if you noticed, it had nice color on the back, whereas this one doesn't. So that's the reason I chose this particular piece rather than this one, because then you'll have a nice, see, the background, it's nice that it kind of coordinates. So that's why I did that. All right, so now we're going to add the base layer. So, and this is just basically to cover up the cap here. And I found the easiest way to do this was to add a lot of glue here and then just glue it down and then cut it afterwards. I found that if you tried to cut it ahead of time, it almost never lined up properly, and so you're better off doing it this way. I have added a lot of glue because I want to make sure that I'm catching those edges from the paper, and that way it will adhere. Now you can use anything here for the base of this. You could use, like I have felt here, but you can use cork, you can use leather scraps or vinyl, tablecloth. It could be anything really. I'm all about recycling, so if you notice, like I'm using bottle caps here. I use bottle caps for lots of things. All right, so I'm gonna let that kind of heat up a little bit, or cool down a little bit. I'm just gonna flare this out. This is kind of where you get to see the magic happen. Look at that. And you want to be careful because it is paper after all. So just kind of gently coax it to the outside here. Look at that. See, this is why you want to have the layering. How cool is that? And you could also curl, you could curl these like the typical, like using like you would with curling ribbon. I thought of doing that with some wine, and that would certainly give it another dimension, that's certainly fine too. How sweet is that? It's going to be awesome. I love that it's just purple and white generally, but boy, that looks really great. All right, so I'm going to cut the base off of this. I'm just cutting around, it's hard for you to see, cutting around the bottom here. And we are going to add a magnet afterwards. That's if you want to use it for, you know, a bulletin board or something. And clean it up any way that you want. There you go. That's pretty good. All right. So now we're going to add the jewels. I chose to add the small ones. You know, you can see here, the small ones in the middle. And like I said, you're not going to see this, so it doesn't matter. I found that a jewel picker of whatever kind you have, I happen to have this one available in my craft room right now. Now, E6000, I grabbed one of these because sometimes E6000 can really kind of be tight to get off. Now, what I did, you could probably hot glue these too. I think E6000 has like a nice kind of way of adhering to, non-porous surfaces to non-porous surfaces. So I literally just globbed it on right like that, and then cover that up so I don't. So I just globbed that right on in the center there, and then literally just started taking the jewels and putting them right on the cap there. You could also, if you wanted to, if you could paint the cap, if you wanted to make it match the color that you're going for. It's totally up to you. You can put whatever you want here. You can put buttons in the middle. That would be really cool. I like the sparkle, so that's why I went with rhinestones here. And you could go with whatever color rhinestones. There are lots of options out there, certainly. Runaway rhinestone. All right, the thing that's great about E6000 too is if you discover that the placement isn't right, you got a little bit of time to fix it, whereas with hot glue you don't. So see, there's my outer rim, and I'm going to just do the same thing that I did with the others, literally just going right around with the different rhinestones. Isn't that cool? And then one right in the middle. There you go. Isn't that pretty? I love how it sparkles. So, like I said, you can take these and you can curl them if you want. But how pretty is that? And then the very last step is to take one of your magnets. Now these, I bought these at the craft store. They're pretty readily available. And I'm going to just glue it right onto the bottom here. And there we go. And that way it'll be locker ready or bulletin board ready. And you just glue that baby right on. Let that set up for a moment. And that's it. That is it. How easy is that? I love these. I just think they're so fun. What a great way to remember a show. If you've got if you're like me, I grab lots of extra programs whenever I'm going to see a production. And so you'd be able to have this, as a memory of that show that you saw. I think that's great. You can put these wherever, suits you in your space. All right, so that's it. That is our programs into flowers. So thank you for joining me for this week's version of Theater Crafts. I hope you try this, and if you do, please send me pictures. If you would, I would love to see what you're doing as well. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.